Welcome to the station of decapitation without your head. I'm Nasty Neal.
I'm Treacherous Trista.
We're joined by R.H. Stavis and Katherine Fisher, the directors of Posies, which is playing a few festivals right now, LA Shorts and Holly Shorts.
Yeah. It's all month. It's LA Shorts, and then right today through the 25th is the Holly Shorts monthly screening.
Very cool. Yeah. And I would normally ask you to give an idea of what the short's about if people don't know, but it's kind of hard to explain, I think.
Yeah, I mean, without giving too much away, it's basically the story of how I look at it anyway. Just my background for doing this was, the last 5+ years, we've kind of seen all of these very dark things come to the surface, people being really emboldened and empowered to be assholes, basically. And that stuff has always been part of society, but now we're, speaking about that more than we were. And I kind of wanted to just tell a story about that idea, that concept, about something coming to the surface, but in a more intimate way and a more physical way. So it's really the story of how this woman is dealing with that kind of transformation. But anything more than that might give the whole thing away.
Yeah. But I loved it, not just because you're both here, but I loved it. And kind of reminds me almost like a Twilight Zone or a Black Mirror kind of.
Oh, thank you.
Because like you're saying, along those lines, though, when you actually talk about something, current, but you also at the same time want to have something people can enjoy. So what's the line there of like, I don't want to, preach to people, I want people to enjoy this on, either level.
Yeah, I mean, it's about, I think, nuance and subtlety, but it's also about creating a world, for us at least, that was just a little bit off anyway. So it is the world that we all recognize, certainly, but it's also, this kind of in the past, but also in the present, aesthetic that's very specific to this story. So, we shot it in New Orleans. We shot it in a very old mansion in the Treme neighborhood of New Orleans, and it was owned by a free woman of color. It was built for a free woman of color back in 1886, I think, and she, passed it down through her family, and just being in that space that was kind of had this elegant decay vibe. We think, or our hope was that we would create this kind of world within, not just within the main character's body, but in where she was inhabiting herself, that felt just off enough that I think the subtext of the story and these kind of nuances of what she's going through and how that relates to current day politics or society could feel removed enough that anybody could hopefully have access to it.
Yeah, but it has like a timelessness feel because you don't know, it can't pinpoint exactly, when it's going on because there's some like old technology, but modern things and just even the look wise, it looks fantastic.
Oh, thank you. I mean, we really, from writing the story on, that was the goal, was really capturing that elegant decay because, the main character and everything about her is it's elegant decay. So when we found that mansion, it was amazing. It was exactly what we were going for. And I love the timeless feel of it. We definitely put all of those elements in so it could be anywhere, anytime with all of this going on together. So
yeah, and we had an amazing DP in Auntie Chang, who's just incredible. So working with him, he's in LA with us as well. So when we met with him a few times before we went to New Orleans together, and he had just come off of shooting Blue Bayou, which just premiered at Cannes. So he was familiar with shooting in New Orleans and had his own crew. So we really had kind of a blueprint already he had kind of this relationship to the city anyway, as we do personally, which was able then to make it so that we could really kind of dive in and make the most of our 4 days of shooting to get the aesthetic that was
4 days. Oh God.
Yeah, it was not enough time.
Never is enough time, but that really was fun.
Trista, do you have a question?
I'm wondering if you guys are horror fans, and if you are, what are some of your favorite films?
Oh. Yes, I am a horror fan. I've been writing horror for a long time, which is why I have my name as initials. So people who are unfamiliar, that's why it's RH, because when I first started writing horror, it was very much man's space. And whenever I turned in stories, short stories and things like that for publication, when it was my name, they came back to me with a no. And when it was initials, they were all of a sudden a yes. So I've been doing this very, very long time. But yeah, some of my favorites, let's see. Oh my gosh. I think my favorite is The Changeling. I love that movie. Speaking of Elegant Decay, that's a really beautiful movie as well. And like, what was the recent one that was like a favorite? We watched, I can't remember now.
Well, we've seen some bad ones.
Well, we're not going to talk about that. We don't talk about that. That's not what we discussed.
No.
And I also watched, I was so late to the party on this, but this is not a movie actually, but I was very late on this for the Channel Zero series.
I'm a big fan of Channel Zero. Yeah.
Oh man, it's so cool,
good.
that teeth monster. Forget it. That was the coolest. I really like those though. I was thinking about rewatching them again.
Yeah.
It's too bad it's not continuing. Yeah.
I know. They just kind of stopped. It was like a couple of seasons, was it? And then it was
more 4 seasons.
4 seasons. It was really good. Most recently, Lisi's story really got me. I thought that was just so beautiful. It's just stunningly done. It was shot perfectly. It's like every frame is a masterpiece. And I hadn't actually read the book, but you did. So it was an interesting kind of dynamic watching it together, because obviously Rachel knew what was going on. And I had no idea, but it worked. It was just, I thought it was stunning and beautifully acted and beautifully directed.
I think I've read every Stephen King book there is, every single one. And I'm also a huge fan of Bentley Little, which a lot of people don't know about, but he's a fantastic horror author who brings like a lot of mundane things to scary, like homeowners associations and insurance policies.
I find those very scary.
I've just been recently catching up on the classic King books on audiobook on Audible while I
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm a rereader. I don't know if a lot of people do that actually, but when I haven't read a book in a while and I know I like the book, I reread it. So I'm back on Duma Key right now, which is a great Stephen King book.
Yeah. So Rachel said you've been writing for a long time. This is the first one you're credited for that you guys worked together. But had you ever worked together before on anything?
No.
No, this is the first time. Rachel has a feature script called Wires, which is stunning. And we've been wanting to get that made. And we wanted to direct together. But we kind of needed not just a proof of concept for the story, but a proof of us basically as a directing duo. So that's actually where Posies came from. The idea to create it, Posies came from, was to make something that kind of showed the world of Wires in a short form, but also kind of proved like what kind of look and feel we bring together as directors working together, and that we actually can work together. So it was the first time, but hopefully this is just the beginning, so we can get the funding for Wires and get that out there too.
And it is a different story. It's not the same thing at all, but it's also body horror and it's also quite feminist. So, those kinds of themes are still in there.
Yeah. Some of the dialogue in Posies, there's a part where she talks about maybe there's somebody watching us. So, if you're doing bad things, someone's paying attention. I don't know if it's something we'll talk about, but are either of you religious in any way? And is that part of the...
They don't know what I do.
No. Get in there.
I am not religious, but funny story, side note about me. I am, quote unquote, Hollywood's premier exorcist. That's what I do aside from writing. And so spiritual, very much so. I think it's a really interesting thing to play with in terms of like writing and creating worlds, that there is something that's paying attention to every tiny wrong that society thinks is okay.
And our Ashley, who does our reviews now, she loved the film. And what's been the feedback been so far?
It's been great. It's funny because obviously we released it during a pandemic year, or we started the festival circuit during a pandemic year. So we've never actually seen it with an audience ourselves.
Okay.
Or on a screen.
Or on a screen bigger than my IMAX. So, so we didn't know what it would be like, coming out, and getting the reviews, and they've started to come in. And so far, they're all really complimentary, and, people especially, I don't know, I think because, obviously the subject matter and also our protagonists, women especially tend to understand exactly what we were going for. But then it's also nice when men like yourself also do. So it's been really kind of an eye-opener to kind of see how something that's been in our heads for the last 2 years, translates to a larger audience. And though we're only seeing it in reviews at the moment, we're looking forward to hopefully in the next few months being able to actually get audience feedback. So fingers crossed.
When I was watching, I mean, it's great to watch on my, I streamed it off my TV on the big screen, but I was thinking because it's very visual, it would be great to see on the big screen.
It would, right?
I think so.
Yeah. The biggest we got was when we were able to do the sound edit in a soundstage studio. So that was the biggest we've actually seen it. But even that was pretty small. Like even for color, we had to do that remotely. Yeah. Because we were in color when everything was super locked down. So Jill, our incredible colorist, kind of took it and ran with it on her own. But we've really, that's the biggest screen was for sound, and it was big, but it wasn't the way that we intended when we shot it.
One day.
There's a scene when she walks by a theater and it's like some kind of Christmas festival. Was that really playing at the time?
Yeah. It was Christmas. We shot it in December.
Yeah, and it was freezing. Like people do not think that New Orleans gets cold. It's not really how you think about it, but
it gets real cold.
It gets so cold, and we had all, of course, night shoots, and it was all basically outside or in the house, which had like no insulation. So, yeah, it was very, very, very cold, and it was definitely Christmas time.
Just kind of added to all the oddness of the movie.
Yeah.
It's like
it's on purpose, which I did that.
Yeah.
Went up there and added the letters. And
yeah, just myself.
Yeah.
Just take credit for it. Trista, do you have another question?
How do your skill sets complement each other while directing?
Oh.
I would say, Rachel's, because she's the writer, she is so in the head of the characters that she's really excellent at articulating what is necessary for the actors to know in terms of subtext and motivation and objectives and all that stuff. It just comes really naturally to you, I think. And for me, my forte is more in the visual, I would say, in the working with the DP and the production design and stuff like that. So while we both did everything. We kind of, I feel like that was the way in which we were the most complementary.
Yeah, for sure. And like when you're two people directing, like a lot of times people don't do that because you could drive each other nuts or make a whole problem. But I don't think we didn't really have anything like that. And that's kind of why we took those fairly separate movements, so we didn't kill each other.
Yeah. Well, the thing is as well, the other thing about co-directing is that there's so little time to shoot something and to work with someone. So having someone at monitor while someone else is,
that's actually very helpful.
It's actually extremely helpful. So, if I was at monitor and I was seeing something different, than what Rachel was seeing or articulating to the actor, we were able to switch, or vice versa. If something wasn't working, and I wasn't at monitor and Rachel was, then she could be like, hey, we need to fix this, that, and the other. So it's actually, if you have a good relationship, I think it's actually really beneficial to the project to have those sets of eyes.
And the way the house was situated too, some rooms were very tight squeezed for everybody to be in. So we'd elect for one of us to be out, which was very helpful because there was someone kind of calling the shots inside and then somebody over here looking at something else.
Yeah, exactly.
You said there was a real mansion. I assume some of the things in there were actually there, but I assume some of the things weren't, like the old television set and stuff. So how much of that was, how much of the stuff did you keep in there that was actually already part of the set?
Not a lot, actually. We had an incredible local production designer that we worked with, Emily Kingston, who did a phenomenal job of bringing the general feel of the house, mixing that with pieces that we brought in. Some of those pieces are actually I have a place down there from my house down there.
Yeah.
The bird on the wall, I don't know where she found that. But
that was my favorite thing.
The pieces that were original to the house, actually the main thing, which is some people might not even see, are on the vanity. There are little photos, which the vanity shot, actually the wide of that, which is also the poster, makes up, we have 2 optical illusions in the film. That makes up the first one. And these photos, they're like little, like kind of rectangular photos, make up the teeth of this optical illusion. But those photos are from the house of the original people that owned, the original woman who owned the house. So things like that we brought in. But for the most part, we brought from the house, but for the most part, we brought everything out from outside.
Yeah, and don't worry if you didn't catch the optical illusions. Nobody does.
We're waiting.
I was just like, I just wanted them. It's 2 skulls. It's one at her vanity and one in the restaurant.
Yeah, I'll rewatch it and look for it. You said Rachel has a feature script. Is that something you would like to work on together?
Wires, yeah. I mean, so it's kind of weird. Like I've been writing so long, I never directed anything. This was like my first foray into this adventure. And the reason why was because I wrote Wires first. I had Wires for a while, and I come from film and television, like I come from that world. So I had a lot of meetings on Wires, and everybody loved the script. They thought it was so great. But the reason that no one could produce the script was because they couldn't find a female director who would want to do something so raw and visceral that wasn't their own. So at that point, I said, well, shit. I guess I'm a female director now, right? I'm going to learn how to do this so that I can actually do this with these companies who wanted to put their backing with Wires. And so thank goodness Kate was already a female director and, kind of showed me the ropes and walked me through it. And we had such a great experience doing Posies that I couldn't see doing Wires without you.
That's very good. How about casting the movie, getting Anna Diop for the lead?
Yeah, we worked with a casting director that I've worked with in the past, Geraldine Flood, who's amazing. And she threw out Anna to us. And honestly, we watched a bit of her reel, and there was this one moment you wouldn't think necessarily in Titans. But there was one moment in Titans, it wasn't even her saying anything, but there was something in her face that was so insanely perfect. Like she has like so many layers. Like there's just like this outer layer, and then you see everything going on behind her eyes.
She's very talented.
She's so talented. So we saw that, and honestly, we were kind of just like blown away. And we met with her, and she was incredible, but also so open to collaborating in terms of really building this character from her perspective. So we really lucked out that A, she wanted to do it, and also B, that she was able to kind of bring her whole self to, again, it's 4 days for her, but it I think she makes the film. She's so nuanced.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine, someone else in the movie.
No, it's her.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the song's a big part of the film too. Bitter, I believe the name is. I wrote it down. Yeah, Bitter. Was that a song you knew of beforehand, or did it come about like you just heard it and this will be perfect, or how did it come out? I guess.
So I was familiar with Chapel Roan, who wrote and sings Bitter, who also did our score actually, and she's just amazing. Like her voice is insane. She has many songs I wish to use for many things, but we heard Bitter beforehand. We were looking for a song that I kind of like wanted to wrap everything around. And it was just, I think we just knew like right away that was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the lyrics, but also
Everything.
the tone. It was just kind of the perfect song. We were kind of obsessed with another song of hers that didn't fit for this film.
No, yeah, for sure.
So we actually went on a hunt through her other music to see. but really what we wanted was for her to come on as a composer. And she's 21, I think.
Oh, wow.
She's very
you wouldn't
young.
think so from listening to
No,
her.
yeah, from the song, it seems like it would be someone who's, had more life experience, but maybe she has.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and she's got that soul that's just, that soulful voice is just kind of haunting and perfect. But so we got her on to compose, and it was the first time composing for film. But she really crushed it, and having that kind of seamlessness in terms of the tone of the music from using bitter so heavily, which is, it's a huge part of the film. Into the actual score piece was really helpful in terms of kind of keeping that the sound, going.
This may be a weird question, but do you know if Anna had heard the music before?
Yeah, well, we gave it to her. Yeah, we sent it to her. Yeah, not the score piece, but bitter and a couple of her.
For some reason, it really matches her performance in the songs.
Yeah. We had it going.
I was happy to see a friend of mine, Jim Ojala, in the credits. So I assume.
Yes.
Yeah.
He crushed it too, and he came to New Orleans with us. So he was a recommendation through our key makeup artist, Jennifer Materos, and she and he worked together, I think, quite often. So we had never worked with him before, but he did an amazing job making, obviously, all of the prosthetics. And then applying them on set with JQ. And he was so much fun to work with. It was so great being in New Orleans with him and with JQ. It was a good time.
Yeah, and we did not have a VFX supervisor on site, which I don't recommend to anyone. But he still went through all the motions for us to make sure we were emailing back and forth and calling back and forth to make sure we were doing everything right.
Yeah, he hooked us up with our VFX person who came on after, Kevin Van Hook. So we were able to kind of have some seamlessness there. But yeah, we didn't have any VFX.
We did our best.
We did our best.
Trista, you have another question?
Yeah, I'm a Pamela Adlon fan, so I'm wondering how she came on as an EP.
Oh, okay. So that's a story. So I actually met Pamela because I have a book. I had a memoir come out a couple of years back called Sister of Darkness with HarperCollins. And I met Pamela because we are now working on the TV series together for FX. So she is my partner in crime. And I should add, too, that Bellatrix and Emma Roberts' company, all those guys are on there, too. So, but Pamela and I really have worked day by day together, writing the show. And I was talking about, we have this thing, this short Posies, and we're working on that as well. And we were sending it out to festivals during that time. And she was like, I want to see it. So she saw it and she was like, I love it. I want to be part of this. I want to be part of Wires. So she's like my favorite human.
Yeah, she's a really good person.
She's the best. Yeah,
really helpful. And strangely enough, actually, she was shooting her Better Things episode that took place in New Orleans the very same week we were in New Orleans.
So we didn't know each other yet.
Yeah,
but we were there at the same time. So after that, we were like, "You were there, wasn't it freezing?" And she's like, "It was freezing." They had to shut down for 2 days because it was so cold. But anyway, that is not the point. We were there at the same time, and everyone was like, "Ooh, weird."
There was something I wanted to ask before I forget. It was earlier when you mentioned, Rachel, that you're an exorcist. How do you personally define a demon or whatever it is?
It's a long story,
okay.
But basically what I do is I remove entities from people and places. So for me, defining what an entity is essentially someone who's not something that's not a deceased person. Totally different story, right? So everything is energy. Deceased people are this kind of energy. Entities over here, this kind of energy. And deceased people don't shut up. I always tell people deceased people love to talk. Deceased people will talk to you all day and night. Entities do not want to talk to you, do not want to be seen, don't want to show themselves at all. So very different kind of energy.
Interesting. Real quick too, is there Is there any exorcism movie that you think is, I don't know, the most accurate or the best?
Oh boy. Let's see. Yes, Veronica, I think it's not really an exorcism movie, but it's definitely a possession movie. The one with the Ouija board. I think that's an excellent movie. And then, now of course it escapes me the name, but the Scott Derrickson, Deliver Us from Evil. That's an excellent exorcism movie.
Oh, right.
That's the one. You remember when I made you watch that?
Yeah.
You guys remember that movie?
I remember the name, but I can't picture it in my mind at the moment. But
Yeah, it's like a war vet comes back, and there's. I don't want to spoil it for you. Actually, if you haven't seen it, you will watch it. But that's one of the best ones, I think. And The Right's pretty good. I think The Right's a really good movie. Every time we talk about exorcism movies, it's always priest. So we don't have anything that's not priest, not yet. But our TV series is not priest.
It's something you could work on in the future.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, essentially, that's what we're doing for television. We're showing you a different kind of exorcism side.
All right. Where can people watch that?
Well, we haven't. We're working on it now, so it'll be with FX.
Oh yeah. All right. Very cool.
Yeah.
And, where can people follow Posies or yourselves to see what else you're up to or where else your Posies will end up?
I would follow, we don't have an actual specific social media campaign for Posies or accounts for Posies, but we're just doing it privately on our own accounts. So at RH Stavis.
It's like Davis with an ST.
Yeah. For Instagram and Twitter.
It's the same. It's the same everywhere.
And I'm on Instagram at k.r.fisher, Fisher.
And since it's a short, it used to be like once a short ran through the festivals, there was really no place for it to go. But now there's more platforms for shorts to end up. So I know it's kind of early yet because it's currently at the festivals. But do you have a plan for Posies once it's finished with the festivals?
I mean, personally, I hope it ends up on Shudder.
Yeah, we'd love, something like a Shudder, somewhere that, has like a larger kind of audience. I mean, honestly, we just want people to see it. It's funny because it's like we make these things, it takes like 2 years to make them really, or a year and a half to make it. And by the time people are actually watching it, you're so kind of like past it yourself. But this is why we make it, for the people to see it. So we're kind of like having a reignition of our love affair with the film now that it's out there. So the more people can see it, the better. And something like Shudder or some kind of distribution like that would be ideal. But we're working on it.
But they're great though too, because they do show a lot of shorts now. I mean, they stream a lot of shorts and it's cool, and you get to see things that you don't normally, because shorts, like, when did you get to see shorts before, like festival or nothing?
Yeah, that was randomly run into one on YouTube. A lot of people wouldn't even they just kind of disappear.
And like with last year, and I mean even still so much of this year being kind of pandemic, it was even less because you couldn't, like some festivals were like, we don't know what's going to happen, like we don't know if we're going to show things or just like say we liked it, So.
But right now it's playing at LA Shorts Fest and Holly Shorts. So
yes,
you can check those out right now.
All online. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. Well, this was very fun. And
thank you.
I love Posies.
Thank you.
I would say more about it, but like you said, I don't want to give away a lot of.
It's one of those.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, and thank you for watching, and thank you, Ashley, for the review. Thank you both for having us. It's lovely to talk about, and with people that are as in the genre as we are. So thank you. And
Team New England.
Team New England. Yes, I need to get back there. I'm from Vermont. I haven't been back in probably 20 years.
Oh my God.
I need to get back.
I did think when you said Changeling, actually, the last time I saw it was in Boston. I go to a 12-hour Halloween horror movie marathon every year.
Oh,
last year, but from midnight till noon. And the one year they showed the Changeling. The only thing was, it was their last movie, which is not a great movie to show after you've been in the theater for 10 hours. And then they're like, 10 a.m. and you've been here since midnight. Now we're going to show the Changeling.
Not the best. Not
really
the best.
slow,
It's a slow burn.
It was hard to stay awake, but I'd seen it before. So. All right, very good. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. So nice to be here.
You as well.
Bye.